Hey, Chicago Bear fans, we just got some great free agent news. And I don't know if you guys remember, but we had tried to get Matthew Judon in a trade last year. I was super excited about getting him on our team, but it didn't really pan out. He would have been a nice fit, but GM Ryan Poles, and I think in retrospect, wisely, I might add, he absolutely refused to overpay in trade compensation. Now we have a pleasant surprise, though. It was reported that the Atlanta Falcons, they're not going to re-sign him, and he's rumored to be as a top choice in free agency now for the Chicago Bears. We don't have to make a trade this time. And I'm going to get into why he's a top priority for the Bears. Multiple reasons in this video. But first, I want to know, who's your favorite defensive end to play for the Chicago Bears whose name is not Richard Dent? Let's dig deep. Let's maybe get a little weird and creative with our choices on the message board. Should be a lot of fun. And please, while you're at it, hit the subscribe button. It's a huge blessing. Now, let's pump the brakes a little bit before I continue. Some of you guys are going to say, hey, what about the offensive line? I don't want to hear about a defensive end. This does not in any way interfere with fixing the offensive line in the draft or in free agency. We have the resources to do both. So let's kind of get to it. I'm going to go to this story here on Yard Barkers, and it kind of shows Atlanta's situation. Matthew Judon, he never signed a new contract with the Falcons after being traded from the Patriots, and Atlanta has 20 unrestricted free agents. The Falcons actually have negative $11 million in projected cap space, and that's according to Over the Cap. Plenty of holes to fill on this roster. Long story short, they're going to let Judon walk. The Bears are connected to him for two reasons. First reason, after a really lackluster year in Atlanta, he's probably going to come at a really affordable weight, a very affordable price. And two, he fits the mold of what defensive coordinator Dennis Allen looks for out of a defensive end. We're talking size, also his skill set, and he fits the mold more so than I would say anyone else on the roster to pair with Montez Sweat. Now, one thing that we can do moving forward, we can be lazy. We can just look at a couple things and be done and say no thank you. We can look at the fact that Atlanta, they finished second to last in team sacks with 31. And Judon, at the outset, looking at his stats, didn't exactly set the world on fire with the Falcons. He only had five and a half sacks. Yeah, 5.5. That's it. But let's look at it in a different light here. 5.5 sacks. That would have tied Montez Sweat for the team lead in Chicago. Both of these guys had off years for multiple reasons. I'm going to leave it at that. The guy's a 4-time Pro Bowler. He's always one of the highest tackling totalers, one of the highest tackling defensive ends in the league, an absolutely great run defender. He does the dirty work. And I'm saying the raw sack total, it doesn't tell the whole story. The guy got acclimated and really came on during the final 7 games. Let's leave it to that sample size. In the final 7 games, 4 sacks, 5 tackles for a loss. Let's talk about fit a little more, specifically in Dennis Allen's scheme. And he's like most other D coordinators, right? A defensive coordinator favors a particular body type, favors a specific skill set in each part of the defensive line, in the secondary too, but especially when it comes to attacking players up front. And I'm expecting some shifts to this D-line. They are going to conform to his preferences. So let's frame this using players that fit this criteria that Allen likes. So hearing straight from Allen, we're going to add the necessary ingredients that we need to create what we need to be able to do from a defensive standpoint. I'm excited about working with the guys that we have, and I'm looking forward to working with GM Ryan Poles and his staff to see if we can't find some pieces to add to it. Now, let's compare it to what Allen did in New Orleans. Sweat would actually be a better fit over on the right side. I know a lot of you aren't going to like this, but in his scheme, he's a better fit on the right side. And Sweat's moved around a little bit, but he's really settled in on the left side in this Eberflus defense. But here's the thing. Cameron Jordan, he filled the left end spot successfully for 4 years in this Dennis Allen defense. He did it as a Pro Bowler, and he did it at 287 pounds. He stuffed the run really well, too. And looking at Sweat, he's at about 260 pounds. He fits the prototype that Allen has always preferred on his right end. So let's say Sweat moves to the right side. Everybody chill. You can say no way to that, but this might be required to run Dennis Allen's scheme correctly. Should be fully doable for him. A cursory look at free agency shows that along with Judon, we're looking at guys like Josh Sweat, Chase Young. They fit this mold, but I'm going to tell you why Judon for me is the best choice. I mean, present personnel on the team: Jacob Martin, Dominique Robinson, Austin Booker. I still love Austin Booker as a player, but he isn't developed enough right now to step in as a full-time defensive end. Plus, all three of these guys are undersized. Looking at it a little more objectively, though, there's one player that sticks out, and that's Darrell Taylor. He plays at 267. The guy's a free agent, but he came to the team really cheap in a trade. I believe it was a 6th rounder to get him. I'd absolutely love to get him signed on a team-friendly deal. I think he's a guy that's a no-brainer that you keep on the team. And then you're saying, what about DeMarcus Walker? I hear you. He's absolutely one of my favorite guys on the team. Just his nasty attitude, really gets after the quarterback. But at 6'4" and 280, I'd really like to see him bounce over to the inside when rushing the passer. He would serve us really well doing that. We've had depth problems there. He's just not it to hold down the every down left end role. Let him swing inside. Let him bounce inside. The guy won't break the bank. Another no-brainer. Keep him here. Weight is a big emphasis here. It's a real thing at defensive end regarding Dennis Allen, too. It's a need for him, not an ask. And the history of this, I'm going to go with the history of this courtesy of SI.com. So let's dig into this. We're looking at from 2018 through the end of Allen's time with the Saints last year. New Orleans' lightest defensive end was 261 pounds. Then we're looking in 2017. They drafted former Bayer Al-Quadin Muhammad, probably butchering that name, sorry. And they had Jonathan Freeney on the roster below that weight. Looking forward, they got rid of both players before 2018. It was pretty short-lived. And then they never had another defensive end under 261 pounds. And on top of that, I'm not really interested in a high-priced option like Khalil Mack either. I think he's gassed. He's probably going to retire. And if you look at Josh Sweat as well, Super Bowl champion, right? Fits right in, 6'5", 265. But this guy's going to be way too expensive. That was bad grammar. I don't want the Bears to tie up that much money alongside Sweat's contract. Same goes for Chase Young. He's a little expensive as well, contract-wise. I'll get into that. I just think Judon's a guy. Let's look at cost and performance. We're going to go to the Bleacher Report on him. He was labeled as the best value in all of free agency edge rusher, and that's for this 2025 year specifically. And I think it might equate to like a 1-year, $4 to $6 million contract from the Bears for a 1-year deal, so he can prove it. Looking at a similar comparison, Chase Young. He signed last year a 1-year deal with the Saints, $13 million, 1.86 signing bonus guaranteed. I want to put big resources on the offensive line. Judon's a nice fit, plenty left in the tank, and he also comes in at the right price. From Bleacher Report, once again, here's their view of it. The Falcons acquired Matt Judon last summer to spearhead their pass rush. The results were not good. 5.5 sacks, fewest in a full season since his rookie year. But it wasn't that long ago that the 32-year-old logged 28 total sacks over 2 seasons with the Patriots. And in the right scheme, he can still make an impact, likely on a reasonable short-term contract. I'm saying this is a scheme for him. He's got to take accountability for not living up to his own standards last year, but I think it's more indicative. Atlanta was a dumpster fire, let's be honest. The season ended up being under first-year head coach and former Bucs head coach Raheem Morris, but it just didn't go well. The team had a lot of issues, most especially on defense, and also so much drama surrounding the quarterback position. But the real problem, once again, was the defense. Atlanta finished 23rd in the NFL in team defense, and that's Really surprising considering Morris. He was hired as a defensive guru, spent 3 seasons as the D coordinator for the Rams. I'm saying Judon was a beast for New England before the trade to the Falcons. And I'm saying after week 7, he was a beast for the Falcons too. His last year in New England, sure, he got injured. He had a season-ending torn bicep. I'm glad it's a bicep. That's not a chronic like knee injury or something. It shouldn't be reoccurring. But before going down, his first 4 games with the team, 4 sacks. He was on a streak. And that was coupled with the previous 2 seasons in New England, 12 and a half sacks and 15 and a half sacks in a row. And then you're looking at the New England Patriots. They were going away from their success during Robert Kraft's 30-year ownership of the franchise. I mean, they were going backwards. But we're talking in 18. They won the Super Bowl. That's not that long ago. No playoff wins since, but they made the playoffs in 2019 and 2021. And from 19 to 21, they had at least 3 Pro Bowl players every single year. But the following past 2 seasons, 2022 and 2023, in addition to the team's 12 and 22 record, not good, Judon was the only Patriot to make the Pro Bowl on that team. Then his time with the team came to an end. I just kind of wanted to illustrate that a little bit. Once again, he set a career high with 12 and a half sacks in 2021, surpassed that the following year with 15.5, had a trip to the Pro Bowl each year, and brought his Pro Bowl streak to 4 straight seasons. Once again, 4 sacks in the first actual 3.5 games when he got injured in 2023. He was on pace for 19.4 sacks per season. Probably wouldn't have made it there, but it still lends to the narrative. And another factor for Judon that sometimes people are scared of, it's his age, but he showed absolutely no signs of slowing down pre-injury. He's going to be 32. Yeah, 32. That feels young to me. When the 2025 season begins, and I think he has one more big contract remaining. So what signifies big to him at this point, I'm not sure. I think the Bears would be well served to probably get him into town for $4 to $6 million per year on a prove-it deal. If they want to do 2 or 3 years, it might balloon up to maybe 9 at the absolute most. I think that's very affordable. I think he is a player that we should get into town. And let's not forget, too, the guy was in Baltimore before this. He was just a fantastic player there as well. And I just think he'd be a really good fit, not only for this scheme, but also for what the Bears want to do cap-wise. And I was really excited to get him on the team last year. And the nice thing is, what a pleasant surprise. We can just pick him up as a free agent. So you guys let me know what you think. Once again, we have the defensive end of all time discussion. I'm looking forward to that. Also, let me know if you think you agree with me, if you think Matthew Judon is the guy for us. Bear down, and I'll see you in the message board. See you.